Hello. My name is Allison. Today we're going to be talking about everything I read in the month of March. Here's the stack right here. It was a good reading month for me, I believe. I don't know, I can't remember. March seems like it dragged on forever. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at everything that I read this month, going back and making sure I had everything, and I was like, I could have sworn I read that 3 months ago. But no, it all happened this month. We're gonna get into the books I read in March, starting with the first book, which was The Witch Would Not by Olivia Atwater. This is the first in the, I believe it's called the Victorian Fairy Tales, which is a companion series to the Regency Fairy Tales, obviously by the same author. In this book, we are following Winifred. Does she go by Winnie? I forget. I honestly forget. I feel like she does sometimes go by Winnie. And she has been asked to be the governess to this young boy at this place, Witchwood Manor, I believe. Yeah, Witchwood Manor. But she's kind of there under false pretenses because she is trying, I don't know if she's flat out just trying to break the curse or if that's something she decides to do later on or not. Honestly, like I said, I feel like March was forever, and this was the first book I read, so it's losing me. I'm losing my memory. My memory is losing it. But anyway, so really she's trying to protect this little boy, not so much be his governess, but she pretends to be his governess, and all the while she's kind of teaching him how to avoid being swindled by fairies, basically. And it's gothic and spooky, and it was everything that I loved about the original trilogy, Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches and Long Shadow. It was everything I loved about that. The fairies were wonderful, but it just was darker and richer, and I loved it. I loved the little love story in this. I loved the spooky fairies. I loved all the reveals, all the twists and turns, and I loved the way that this story is tied in with Half a Soul. I absolutely adored it. Like, once we started learning more about Winnie's history and everything, I was eating it up. I loved it so much. I obviously gave it 5 stars. I can't tell you too much without spoiling the original trilogy and also spoiling this book. But the way this ended, it wasn't necessarily a cliffhanger, but I need the next book. I have no idea when it's coming out. I don't even think there's a title or anything like that for it yet, but I cannot wait to see where this is gonna go. I am so excited. Like I said, I loved it. It was 5 stars. If you read the original trilogy, I highly, 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 highly recommend you pick this one up as well, because it was just everything that first trilogy was, but more darker and just spooky, and just, oh, it was so good, so good. Okay, the next book I read in March was The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. We are following Colette, who is a vampire. We're following her throughout for like almost 200 years. We're following her. She gets turned into a vampire in the 1830s, and then we're basically learning the story of her life and the relationships she's had and the things she's learned from them along the way, and also she's dealing with her own immortality, and like, she didn't want to be a vampire. It was kind of forced upon her, and yeah, and then she was just kind of thrown out into the world to fend for herself, really, and we're just following her story throughout the time. And in the meantime, we're also following her in the 1980s in New York, where she is running a school for children, rich kids, very young. It's like a preschool, and there she learns some things about a family, and she's trying to figure out if she should get involved, if she should involve the authorities, but also, like, she's got a sketchy past, so she doesn't necessarily want to draw attention to herself, but also she knows that this family cannot continue dealing with cannot, you know, she needs to do something. Like, she's seen it and she can't just turn a blind eye. She needs to figure something out, and so she's dealing with that and her own immortality, and all the while there's like this looming dark presence throughout the novel about this god of endings, and she's worried that he's coming and he's gonna like rip away everything that she's worked for and stuff like that. And throughout the book, she is slowly getting more and more like insatiable, like with her hunger. She's losing track of time. She's having like blackouts, and yeah, the whole book had this melancholy, sad, just atmosphere to it. It was all pretty much one note throughout the whole book. There was never that like moment of tense, like there were scary moments, and there was moments where I was a little nervous for her, but at the same time it was all pretty one note, and there was never that moment of like, I don't know, I wanted some big huge drama to happen, and like the book goes in a very interesting direction, but there was never that moment of like, oh my god, you know. But still, I really liked this. It made me cry a lot because it was very sad, and it was really about loneliness, and it was very beautifully written. Like, I will definitely pick up more from this author. I gave this 4.5 stars. Didn't quite reach 5 because there wasn't that like big huge dramatic. It was all kind of one note, but still it was such a beautiful book. Lots of interesting things were said in it. Yeah, I had a good time. Well, I had a bad time, but I had a good time. You know, I never know what to say when a book has such a difficult subject matter. It's like, but I enjoyed the book, but I didn't at the same time because it was, you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. We're gonna talk about something else. Okay. The next book I read in March was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. And if you've seen any of my wrap-ups before, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of modern day witch stories, so I don't know what exactly made me pick this up, because there was 2 or 3 that I DNF'd last year within like the first couple pages, but this ended up being a fun little time. There were things that really annoyed me about it, but on a whole, I had a good time. We're following Marielle, and she's a witch, and she's bad at it, and she comes from this long line of witches who are good at being witches, and she's really terrible at it. And one day she accidentally summons a demon, and in a panicked moment, she tells her mom that he's her boyfriend, and so thus starts the fake dating. I don't know what else to say about this book. It was fun, it was cute. I gave it a 3.5. Like, it wasn't anything special, but it also didn't offend me enough to stop reading it or give it a lower score. I liked the characters, I enjoyed them. There were, like, I wish I had gone through and marked them somewhere so I could point them out. There were some weird puns that just, just made me want to curl up and disappear. Like, just regular things that we have in everyday life, but with witchy words in them. Like, they were talking about America's Next Top Model, but it was not called that. America's Next Top Witch. And that's not even one of the worst ones. There was one, they were talking about a band. What was it? It was like My Alchemical Bromance. It's just, because they were also mentioning like real things in life. Like they were mentioning like, oh, the movie Up, and which is a real thing that exists in real life. And it's like, it's one thing if you make these puns everything, and then it's another when you're mentioning real life things alongside them. It's like they have these real life versions, but then they have the witchy pun versions, which is just, it felt really unnecessary and weird to me, and that's really my only complaint. But that's just a me thing, honestly. But I'm gonna move on before I blabber too much. The next book I read in March, jeez. A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is the beautiful, absolutely beautiful Fairy Loot edition. This edition is just, well, I don't love this, honestly, but the rest of this edition is just stunning. What happens in this book? We're following Freya, and she's got some secrets, and she's married to a terrible person, and she meets a handsome stranger by the river, throws a fish at him, and stuff happens from there. I can't say much about this without spoiling it, because like, it is action-packed. It's like stuff is constantly happening. I absolutely love this. 5 stars. Yeah, this was just a fun time. I had such a good time with this. I was really interested in the world and in the magic system, and the secrets. I wanted to know all the secrets. I wanted to know what was going on, and like, really, you don't fully like grasp what's happening until the last pages, and it just kept me on my toes. And the slow burn romance in this was really nice. I loved the banter between the two main characters. What was his name? Bjorn? I can't remember. But yeah, I think it was Bjorn. I loved their banter. They were like, they hated each other, but literally every word out of their mouths was like flirting. It was all flirting, and it was like, who are you trying to fool? And it was just so good. It was so fun. I just had a good time. Yeah, 5 stars. Like I said, I can't wait for the rest of this series. I will be picking up more from this author. This is the first thing I ever read from this author, and I know she's got a couple other series that are fairly popular, so I will be checking those out. Because yeah, the writing was good, kept me on my toes. I was interested throughout the whole thing. There was never a moment where I was bored. Yeah, it was just action-packed, full of magic and mystery, and just, it was just so fun. I just had a really good time, and how many more times am I gonna say I just had a really good time and it was so fun? I'm gonna move on and talk about a different book. The next book I read in March was the reread of the month. This year I'm really trying to, my bangs are just really unhappy today, but well, they look terrible, but we're doing this anyway. Yeah, anyway, this year I'm really trying to do as many rereads as I possibly can. I'm trying to do at least one a month. And in March, I reread Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Sorry, excuse me. And I tabbed it. I did a nice tidy tabbing, which never happens. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well because my highlighter is very pale, but I also went in and highlighted things as well. So I remember what I was trying to remember with the highlight. Anyway, yeah, this is a reread. If you don't know what Jane Eyre is about, we're following Jane Eyre as she does throughout her life, and yeah, that's basically it, really. Yeah, she becomes a governess for this wealthy man, Mr. Rochester, and he's not the greatest, but she falls in love with him anyway, and there's secrets and stuff. I still really loved this, even though this time around it was like, wow, Mr. Rochester is really the biggest walking red flag I have ever seen. But I still loved this. You know, Jane, she knows what she wants, and apparently she wants him, but you know, yeah, this was 5 stars. I originally gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. I have nothing really new to say about it. I have no new opinions about Jane Eyre that no one has said before. Yeah. Alright, the next book I read in March, something a little lighter, In the Weeds by B.K. Borison, the sequel to Love Light Farms. In this one we are following Beckett, who I really loved in the first book, Love Light Farms, and Evelyn, who was okay. I still have really no opinion about Evelyn. She was fine in this book. I did really love Beckett, very relatable. This I give a 4-star. I didn't love it as much as the first book. I don't know if it was the Christmassy setting of the first book, but it just made the silliness of the town a little more tolerable. In this one, just the locals were kind of annoying and cringy to me. Even like, what was her name? The main characters from the first book. I don't remember what her name was. I don't remember. Luca was the boy's name. What was... Stella. Even Stella and Luca I thought were a little weird, but yeah, I mean, I had a good time. There was nothing I really actively disliked about this. It just, I don't know, I didn't like it as much as the first one. And also the cats in this book, as well as in the first book, I feel like they don't act like real cats. They don't act like real cats, and that kind of takes me out of it a bit. If you put a cat in a book, have them act like a real cat, like. And there's a bunch of cats in this book. Anyway, that's just a me thing. But yeah, the romance was okay. I didn't enjoy it. I prefer a Friends to Lovers over a Second Chance romance, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I had a good time. Like, there was nothing I actively hated about this, so it was just meh. I will continue in the series. I don't think there was anything else I was going to say about this. Oh, I noticed while reading this, I don't know if it was because I was reading it around when the Stardew Valley update came out, but strong Stardew vibes. This whole town with the silly townsfolk, and they're just doing silly things, and strong Stardew vibes. So if you're a fan of Stardew, I'd pick up these books because they're cute and cozy, and there's nothing too dramatic going on, but there's like the farm vibe and the small town vibe, and just, yeah, just a good time. Yeah, 4 stars. Alright, the next book I read in March was The Wild Hunt by Emma Seckel. I absolutely loved this. I absolutely loved this. I was crying throughout the whole book. What? So we're following a young woman, Lee, who returns to this small island in Scotland after her father dies, and she's kind of just dealing with the aftermath of that, and it takes place like a couple years after the end of World War II, and the whole island is still kind of dealing with the aftermath of the war and the grief of it. And every October the island is sort of infested, I want to say, by these mythical creatures called the Slua. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm gonna say it. Who are basically these crow creatures that they help guide spirits to the next world. And yeah, stuff happens. Yeah, it's a slow book. There's a mystery. A boy goes missing. It was spooky. It was a little creepy. I absolutely loved it. I would definitely recommend it for like fans of Scorpio races. Very, 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 very strong Scorpio races vibes. Scorpio races is one of my all-time favorite books. So I was really happy that I ended up loving this as much, and it wasn't just like, oh, it seems like it's just trying to be the Scorpio races, but it wasn't. It was its own thing, but the vibes were very strong. Does not have the coziness that the Scorpio races has. That's one thing I should say. It's very melancholy, very sad throughout. Also would recommend it to fans of The Unmaking of June Farrow, for reasons I can't think of. Maybe just the overall tone of the book, you know, the overall tone, I guess. Yeah, I absolutely love this. It was 5 stars. I don't know what else to say. I can't say much about the book without spoiling it, because it is a very slow book and not a lot happens plot-wise, so there's not much I can say. But still, beautiful writing. The writing did take a little bit to get into, because there will be sections where there's memories inside memories, and it gets a little confusing, but once you get used to the writing, it just really flows. Like, I read like 270 pages of this in one sitting because I could not put it down. I needed to know what happened. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about it. Please read this. It was good. All right. The last book I read in March was The History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. This took me a while to get through, honestly. It took me a long time to get through the first 40 pages, which is like part 1. Because it was kind of boring, that first part. But once you get into part 2, the pacing shifts and it turns into something different, and that it really piqued my attention a little bit more after that, and I did end up enjoying it. I don't know what I can say about this book without giving away spoilers. Well, in the first 40 pages, we're following Travis, who is looking for a woman named Maggie, who was an author of a very famous, like, children's series. And yeah, that's what the first 40 pages is about. The rest of it is about something completely different. But it does all tie together in the end. And there was a moment where I really wasn't enjoying this book at all. But I wasn't hating it, but I wasn't loving it. I was just a little bored with it. Even after, like, the pace changed and I was interested again, and then I slowly became bored, and then stuff started happening, so I was interested again. And the ending was very satisfying. And I give it a 4 stars is my rating for this in the end, because the ending was very satisfying. I just didn't really, I don't think I liked the characters. I think that's why I wasn't really having the greatest time, was because I didn't really care about the characters. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this. It was 4 stars. Like I said, there was nothing I hated about it. it didn't wow me, but the ending was very satisfying, and I really liked the ending. And yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. Okay, so that was everything I read in March. I'm gonna show you my scarf, my review scarf. So every book I read, I do a row in the scarf for every amount of pages. For every 100 pages, I do a row, and the color determines the rating. Yeah, I guess, yeah, who cares? Anyway, this is my scarf so far. Where the B is the month. So this is the month of March. Look at all those 5 stars, 3 5 stars, look at that. Yeah, and this is what the scarf looks like. Right now, I have not weaved in my edges for March. Yeah, I think it's really cute. Anyway, enough about the scarf. We're gonna pick my reread for April, this month, April, in this little jar. I think it's a candle holder. I don't know what it is. I don't know where I got it. Are all the books I want to reread and the series I want to reread. And let's see, what do I get? The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Can you read it? Look at me, I'm being one of those people. Raven Cycle, can you read my handwriting? That actually works out really well because that is actually what I wanted to reread this month. Wow. Anyway, that's what I'm rereading this month. I'm not going to reread the whole series. I'm just going to start the reread this month. I might read the whole series this month, who knows. And then I won't pick another one until I am done with the Raven Cycle. So I can go back up there where it was. Yeah, and what else am I reading in April? I'm going to be reading After the Forest by Kel Woods because the April buzzword, where's my paper that has, here it is, okay. The April buzzword read along, the word for April is nature words. So yeah, forest, nature word. Oh yeah, and my read for March was Jane Eyre because the buzzword for March was character's name in the title. So yeah, Jane Eyre worked for that as well as my reread, so that worked out well. I'm going to be reading After the Forest by Kel Woods. Do I know what this is about? No, I don't. I'll figure it out when I read it. What am I currently reading? I'm currently reading The Phoenix King by Aparna Verma. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I am 75 pages in on chapter 9. I don't know if I'm feeling it. I usually give books like this like 100 pages before I decide whether or not I'm going to DNF it. And it's feeling like I might DNF it. I'm not feeling it. Or I might just stop reading it and save it for another time. Soft DNF it, I guess. We'll see. But yeah, anyway, that was it. Thank you for watching. What was my favorite book I read this month? I think The Witchwood Knot. Thinking about it, yeah, I really loved that. In second place, I think The Wild Hunt. And then A Fate Inked in Blood. You know, my 3 5 stars. I had 3 5 stars this month. That's pretty good. Yeah. That's it. My least favorite book. What was my least favorite book? Oh, where did, I can't see it. The witch one. The one I gave 3.5 stars. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you want to, leave a comment if you want to, subscribe if you want to. No pressure, it'll all be appreciated if you do though. We're gonna end the video here.